Hi, so welcome. And today in our series, we'll be interviewing Mr. Devendran, the CEO of Sri Narayana Mission in Singapore. Welcome today.
Thank you. Thank you, Janice. Happy to have this opportunity for this interview and join all of you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us today. So let's start by learning more about your organization and how you care for seniors in our community.
Well, okay, so let me give a quick overview of the social service agency that I work for, the Sri Narayana Mission. It's the name actually of a guru, spiritual guru, who was born more than 160 years ago in the southern Indian state of Kerala, and followers of his spiritual teachings here in Singapore, established the mission on the 18th of June, 1948. So that makes us 74 years old this year, and next year we'll be marking our 75th anniversary. And in these last 75 years, the mission has been engaged in delivering interventions to make a difference in the lives of the people, the community where we exist, regardless of race, language, or religion. And we were running interventions for the community. And then in 1979, we started operating a nursing home. And today we operate one nursing home. It's a 224-bed nursing home. I'm very happy to inform you that by 2025, we'll be operating a second nursing home. That will be a 302-bedder nursing home. Both these nursing homes are government subvented. So we receive government subsidy to operate these nursing homes. But the business model for subvented nursing homes in Singapore is that the government expects the organizations running these nursing homes to also raise charity dollars, to augment the operations of two nursing homes. In addition to the nursing home that we currently operate, we also operate a psychiatric welfare home for destitutes. And that's a 200-bed welfare home. And the nursing homes are regulated by the Ministry of Health. The psychiatric welfare home is regulated by the Ministry of Social and Family Development. We also run, at the moment, 2 active aging centers. By the middle of next year, we'll be operating a 3rd. And actually, I think at the same time, one of our existing facilities where we run non-residential interventions will also be accorded active aging center status. So by 2025, therefore, we will be running 2 nursing homes, 4 active aging centers, and a psychiatric welfare home. And it is, in keeping with the teachings of the spiritual guru, whose values we are very closely aligned to. It is regardless of race, language, or religion. So in the nursing home that we operate today, and I'm speaking to you from that nursing home, close to 70–80% of my residents are Chinese.
Yep.
So I would describe us as a social service agency of Indian origin that has been in existence in Singapore for the last 74 years, providing interventions regardless of race, language, or religion to those who will most benefit from these interventions, and that would typically be the less privileged who live amongst us. So that, in a nutshell, is who we are. And I think you had asked about, the ethos by which we run, the nursing home. And well, it's actually predicated on this assumption. And in fact, in my view, it is not just an assumption. I have actually gone from assumption to deduction to conclusion. And that is this: no one wants, in this country, okay, Singapore, if given a choice, no one wants to reside in a nursing home. In this country, we have got close to 90, maybe 95% of our people who live in public housing. So everybody has a roof over their heads. Yeah. It's a very successful public housing project. It's a model that many countries have come to, to Singapore to see for themselves. And it's one of the things that we are very proud of as a country. So because we have this very successful public housing scheme, almost everyone has a roof over their heads. And therefore, if given a choice, they would want to age in place, age at home, surrounded by family and friends, you know. So, but, you know, when you're dealt a certain set of cards in life, it results eventually in, you know, nursing home becoming the most appropriate setting, you know, for a person to spend their twilight years. Then we've got to make sure that, you know, we run the nursing home with a new set of lenses. And what do I mean by that? I tell my staff that the nursing home belongs to the residents, not the other way around. It is their home. It's not a hospital, it's a home. So make sure we spell the word home in upper caps, and then deliver the interventions with that emphasis very clearly in our minds. This home belongs to our residents. We, the staff, come to work here in someone else's home. So to that extent that it is possible, because I did say, you know, we are a subvented, government subsidized nursing home, you know, we don't have access to the kind of resources that private nursing homes have access to. But within those limitations, you know, there's this pithy, almost hackneyed cliche, you know, you can buy a house, you can't buy a home, you know. So we may, you know, in terms of resources, have a modest offering, but it's tremendous support of the government. We're constantly reinventing, you know, how these government subsidized nursing homes should look like. And there's a lot of progress that's being made there. So with whatever resources we have, we make sure that we run this as a home that belongs to the residents. And, you know, we try to give them a say in the running of the home as far as possible, as far as the resources allow. So I have a residents committee, you know, and it's been flagged up as a empowerment of seniors initiative, you know, and we try to, you know, give them a say in how the home is run, what kind of, you know, pajamas they get to wear, you know, the menu for the week or the menu for the day, you know, wherever possible, we give them a say. And that's how we run the place. And I'm happy to say that, you know, we are seeing some results, positive results. And, you know, one of our challenges is, you know, getting the staff on board, you know, because that mental model is, look, I've come to a nursing home. These are all elderly people. So we, you know, they need our help. You know, we will decide for them everything, you know. And I'm saying, well, let's not forget that at one point in time, these people were deciding for themselves. So let's not take that away from them. In fact, let's find ways to maintain, give them that opportunity to maintain their independence, you know, and give them a say, give them a reason, you know, to wake up in the morning and look forward to the day. And that's what we try to do, you know. So it's about, you know, managing these people, not as patients, but as persons. It's about running the place very clearly, you know, with this thought in our mind that this is a home that belongs to the residents, and we are here to help them live in this home. You know, so the psychosocial domain, as we call it, very important to us. So we try to make sure that the programming, activities and all, you know, as far as possible, create a little buzz for them. It's been a challenge these last 2.5 years. Obviously, I think everybody's aware of that. The pandemic had, you know, put serious restrictions, you know, on the way we operated pre-pandemic. But happy to say that, you know, we are getting back to normalcy. You know, in this country, we believe in the science. So I've got almost 100% full vaccination of my residents and staff, and that allows us, you know, to take advantage of the current scenarios, operating environment. We're dealing with Omicron, which is, you know, more benign, and we hope that it stays that way. And with full vaccination, we are confident, you know, our residents can get back to outings, you know, their family visits. In fact, we started that 2 months ago. You know, we had this the Hindu festival, you know, Deepavali, and residents wanted to go home, and so we allowed them to go home as long as they were fully vaccinated. And just as I said, you know, just last Saturday we had a Christmas party in the town center, and my residents participated, and all very happy. A couple of them came back dressed as Santa Clauses, you know, so that made their day, you know. So that's really, how we run the nursing home. Someone once said that, in Singapore, the subvented nursing homes are safe, but soulless. And I think, to some extent, there was some merit in that observation, and we are acutely aware of this. So we have very strict protocols in place. The Ministry of Health ensures that we observe these protocols. So our nursing homes are safe, and we make sure they are safe. The licensing audits and the audits that we undergo on a yearly basis ensure that. But on that other dimension of soul, that psychosocial domain, the mental health part of it, I think there's a lot more that we can do. Not just by ourselves, but with our partners, who live in the community around us. And that's what we are actively trying to do at this point in time.
Yeah, I think you made a very good observation of and understanding of the philosophy of what is home. And let's elaborate a little bit more on that, because we take for granted that we are going to work in a facility and we're doing our job. Sometimes we go about doing things in a very efficient and professional way, but we may forget that we are in someone else's home. What are the elements inside S&M that you've tried to push forward that make residents feel as homely as possible? What are some initiatives and ideas that have been implemented either by yourself or your staff?
Well, so one is, this creation of a residence committee. Pre-pandemic, we would have, it's almost like a condominium residence committee. The members of the committee are elected by the residents, and they serve 1-2 year terms. We used to have town halls, where the committee, with the staff playing the role of secretariat, get feedback from the residents on a whole range of things, and we, take note of these things. The residents committee takes note of these things, and then we follow up on it. It's in the little things. So, for example, when we have events, and we've got a guest of honor, maybe it's a political office bearer or someone very prominent. It used to be, that the president and the CEO would be there to receive this guest of honor. Now we make it a point that the chairman of the resident committee receives the guest of honor. For our staff, the new joiners who come on board, they go through an induction program where we explain these things to them. What is it that we're trying to do? What is this? When the CEO says, you've got to make sure you spell the word home in upper caps. So this is the S&M nursing home, and home is spelled in upper caps. What exactly are we trying to say? What is this ethos, paradigm with which we want our staff to, operate in this environment? And it's a constant work in action. So we have the director of nursing, for example, has regular, weekly, sometimes daily sessions, with the staff. I have town halls, with the staff as well, where we keep, reiterating this point. We are here to assist our residents to live, and make sure that we have created a safe environment for them, because they are because of their age, and infirmities, vulnerable individuals, but find every opportunity to strengthen their ability to be independent. Do not unwittingly take that independence away.
And as we know, moving into a new home can be a difficult process for an older person. What are some ways that you've done in your home that has eased this process for new residents entering?
Okay, so we have a social work department with the social workers, and so together with the care team, we engage with the family members and of course the resident who is coming in, especially as part of their onboarding process, regular interactions, to make sure that they settle in comfortably. And this is where the other residents, in my nursing home, I do not have individual rooms for my residents. So, it's 6 to 7 residents in a room. And of course, the room is big enough to hold them. For the new nursing home that's coming up, it's going to be 4 residents to a room. And I'm hoping that, maybe in the not too distant future, we would have, completed that, evolution, and, we'll have nursing homes where every resident has a room of his own or her own. But at the moment in this nursing home, it's 6 to 7 residents in the room. And, the other residents, and of course the representatives of the residents committee who reside on that particular level of the nursing home, are all involved in helping to onboard and settle the new joiner into the home, and we tell the NOK, and we tell the residents, anything that's troubling you, please, just press the buzzer, raise your hand, and we will come in there and work together with you, the resident, to come up with the solutions to whatever is, troubling you. So it's not prescriptive, it's done together with the resident, with their family members. So that onboarding it's quite important. I'm very fortunate that I have a catering department with my own chefs. They produce wonderful food, and if this is going out to the larger audience, Singaporeans love their food. And if you haven't been to Singapore, please come, if not for anything else, to sample the wide spread of culinary delights we have. Chinese dishes, Malay, Indian dishes, fusion dishes. Dishes that don't exist in India or China, for example, you'll find it here and you'll call it a Chinese or Indian dish. Food plays a big role, in helping with this, this whole settling down thing. So very proud to say that my catering department serves up some wonderful food, and we use that. To help the residents settle in. I can't always give them what they want, but whatever we serve up, and we make sure we have the same food, so that's how we maintain quality control. That helps as well. All my residents have access to the various communication means to communicate with their loved ones. During the pandemic, we were using robots, to play this role. They talk into the screen on this robot, and we can see the face of their loved ones. Think pads and things like that. And so that's what we do. We also use the technology to make sure that nobody feels isolated, upon coming into a new setting like the nursing home. And my staff are very empathetic. We're very happy and proud to tell you that these last several years since I've joined, they have been all individually winning the Sing Health Quality Awards, for good performance. The community care, as we call it in this country, it's a high touch operating environment, and we get bouquets from our NOK, from our residents, and from our peers in the industry. That's not to say we don't get brickbats. We do, so then that's an opportunity for us to learn and strive to do better. And so it's an ongoing process, but my staff are very empathetic, and we get sometimes it's very touching, especially when a resident has passed on. We get thank you cards, to tell us that the family is very grateful for the kind of care that was given to their loved one. And so these are the ways in which we know that, okay, everything's fine. Our new joiners are settling in well, and for those who have been with us for some time, this has become their home. And I would tell you that we've had instances when a resident has fallen critically ill and had to be sent to the hospital, and they've actually told the hospital that they want to come back to the nursing home because if it's where they would like to pass on.
Yes.
Not in the hospital, but in the nursing home, because it has become their home.
Yeah, I think that's good testimony for the
very
quality
moving.
of
I have to say, this 6 years that I've been here, I've been learning. I've been witness to the human side of things, and some very moving and stories, that I could share on another occasion.
But what's one story that is very close to heart of a senior whose life has really changed ever since coming under your community and care?
Well, there are several, but I'll share this about a retired army officer.
Mm.
A very colorful character. His name was Lao Singh, Ishwar Lao Singh, and he served, and retired as a major from the Singapore Army. But as a teenager, his claim to fame was that he volunteered to serve the Indian National Army, which was comprised of Indian prisoners of war in the Second World War, under this very dynamic, visionary, fiery leader called Subhash Chandra Bose, who's today is revered and respected in India and the world over as a freedom fighter. And he set up this army to fight with the Japanese against the British to free India. And Lal Singh, as a teenager, had volunteered, to serve with the Indian National Army and go to Burma to fight the British. And it seems, Subhash Chandra Bose said, "You're too young. You stay in Singapore and you serve with." They call it the Bal Sewaks, which is like the youth arm of the Indian National Army, which he did,
Mm.
and then the wheels of history turning as they did, Singapore became independent, and Lao, from serving in the Bal Sewak as a teenager, joined the British Army in the 1950s, and then in the 60s joined the Singapore Armed Forces and was one of the pioneers, who helped to build up the Singapore Armed Forces, the Singapore Army that we know of today. And he came as a resident to my nursing home, and ex-military guy. He took charge and was vice president, I think, vice chairman of the residence committee. At one point in time, he was very, very proud when I asked him to lead the entire nursing home, staff included, in our National Day observance ceremonies. Okay, and we used to get the boys from the nearby. There's a military airbase near our nursing home. We have very good rapport with them, and they send their servicemen and women to join us, in these SAF Day, National Day observance ceremonies. And he used to, really revel in the role, of inverted commas parade commander, leading all of us in, and then after that, having the opportunity to share his own experiences, with these youngsters who are serving as national servicemen and women in the Singapore Armed Forces today, and larger than life character, and he considered this his home. In fact, he was one of those, and towards the end, when he passed on earlier this year, he was, I think, 93 or 94, and he used to go in a hospital. He would basically be, badgering the staff in the hospital, to send him back to the nursing home, and but when he did pass on, he passed on at the hospital, but he had requested that his body be brought, to the nursing home before heading to the crematorium, and we did that, and we gave him a very, I think, a very sentimental, heartfelt send-off, complete with military martial music and all of that. And we had the SAF veterans all come. So I think it would have been a send-off that Lal would have been very proud of.
Wow.
And he used to lead our, so before the pandemic, we used to have these early morning exercise sessions in the courtyard for the residents.
Yeah.
And being the true military guy, he used to lead everybody in the exercise. It was a bit vigorous, at times we had to kind of restrain his enthusiasm and say, Lal, we can't, maybe we should ease up a little bit. I think if he had his way, he would have had the residents doing push-ups, and stomach crunches. But it was nice, and that's one story. We have another which was featured in the mainstream press, the Straits Times. A resident who got married to his childhood sweetheart, and then the day that he got married, and my staff organized the wedding. We bought the wedding rings, we bought everything, and we had the wedding in the nursing home. And immediately after he got married, we decanted him. We discharged him from the nursing home, and he went off, and he still, we keep in touch, he and his wife. I never expected it. I never expected that the resident in my nursing home, and they were both in their 70s, when they got married, would get married, and I would have an opportunity to say bye-bye to a resident, not because they had passed on, but because they were a new lease of life,
Wow.
and yeah, that was great, and he was in a wheelchair. When I first joined, he was always in a wheelchair. He had a place, downstairs near the front desk lobby where he would sit and read his newspapers. But in the months leading up to the wedding, he started, getting up from his wheelchair, using his wheelchair to exercise and walk around the courtyard to get in shape, literally, for his wedding. So I said, Willipin, so actually you can walk. He said, yeah, maybe, but I didn't have a reason to. Now I'm getting married and I have a reason to, and I want to walk. I said, well, that's great. So I'm going to see you walk down the aisle, and that's what he did.
Wow, it's a very touching story and inspirational too.
Yeah, and it was in the Straits Times. Very nice photograph. We had one of our partner organizations, Cycling Without Age.
Yeah.
They've got these trishaws, very specially configured trishaws, and volunteers who are trained as trishaw pilots, and they gave the newly married couple a trishaw ride around the town, where we are located, Nisun town.
Yeah.
And everybody was stopping them to take photographs with them. A 70-year-old newly married. Something you don't see very often.
It's such a sweet story. Well, we'll have to get your team to share that story on stage one day. I
sure.
think it's a wonderful moment. Well, I know you're a military man by background. Why don't you share with the audience how you came about becoming CEO of this home?
Oh, you want to hear that war story? Well, yeah. Okay. So yes, I am a retired military officer. I spent 24 years in uniform. Very proud to say that I am an alumnus of the National Defence Academy, Parak Vasla, India, and also the Indian Military Academy in Dehradun. I was sent by the Singapore Armed Forces to train with the Indian Army, and I came back and served with the Singapore Army. And when I left, I was a deputy chief for an Army Army Logistics Formation. And I left the Army at the age of 43. Which was a bit young, but I decided, it's time to move on. And I went for the, exit management program. Okay, and part of that exit management program for senior officers included a psychometric profiling. I remember the one that we did was called the Bergman First Look. Yeah. And when the results came out, it suggested to me that I should seriously consider a career as a lawyer or an administrator.
Yeah.
Number 3 was social worker, and number 4 was priest. So I remember sharing this with my wife and saying, "Hey, this profiling is suggesting I become a priest." And she said, "Well, I have 4 children, so you have, with my blessings, you can go and become a deacon and become a priest." But I put great store by that, and looked for an opportunity in the social service sector, and was fortunate, to be able to serve with a self-help group. We have 4 self-help groups in Singapore, which are race-based. It's a little bit of a, anachronism, if I can call it that, because this country is, regardless of race, language, or religion. But I think correctly so, the government, together with the people, had identified that for the bottom 20% of each community, it's best to take a race-based approach to level them up. And I served with the Singapore Indian Development Association for 2009 to 2016 before I moved to SNM, to serve as the CEO in this organization, which is most prominent in the community care sector. And I often share this with many people. When they ask me, I say I'm relying on the same competencies, skill sets, and experience I picked up as an officer to do the job that I'm doing now. And I consider it a blessing. This is the second half of my professional working career. I'm 60. I turned 60 this year, so I've got less runway in front of me than I have behind. I think if you talk to the pilots, they'll tell you that, I'm already past V2, which means the plane is committed to take off. And I'm using those same competencies, so it causes you to think, because as a soldier, and I make no bones about this, and I have many of my, classmates and former military colleagues who would share this. It's the ultimate zero-sum game. Anywhere in the world, it's a necessary requirement, I guess. But it's I win, you lose. That's the basic proposition. Okay, so if deterrence doesn't work, then we've got to do what we have to do to I must be prepared to destroy in order to preserve. Preserve my country's way of life, my way of life, protect my people. It's a zero-sum game. Actually, there are no winners or losers. They're just losers. But it's necessary. I mean, you just see what's happening around the world. I wish we could use all those, divert all those resources to make a difference in the lives of the less privileged. Reduce our carbon footprint, make the world a safer place, more livable place, more sustainable.
Yeah.
But we are where we are, and so it's those same competencies which I depend on. So from a zero-sum game, it has become a situation where if we do things right, if we can get it right, it may make that difference to that one starfish. If we get it right, maybe 1+1 will equal 2.5.
Yeah.
And I consider myself very blessed to be able to do that. So this is something that we all need to think about. Our we have human ingenuity, the technology, the brains, but the man above has left it to us to decide. Well, you can either come up with clean power, or you can use it to build a bomb. You decide. And it's very humbling. And so that's how I came into this sector. In a way, it's an extension of what I did as a soldier. My job was to serve my country, and I think in the social service sector, helping less vulnerable, the vulnerable people, the less privileged among us, making sure no one gets left behind. It fits very nicely with the value systems of a soldier. In fact, any soldier in any military.
Yeah, and how can we, given that there's a global talent shortage for this sector, how can we motivate more people who have left the military or are considering a change of career? How can we tap on this valuable resource and to move them to the social service sector? What do you think are ways that we can do to
well,
draw on this talent?
I think at the level of the regulators, and I think some work is being done here. Create the awareness. That there are these opportunities, and take what people do in the uniform services, and then break it up into competencies, skill sets, experience. And they are not the same. Huh? You can have 20 years experience and not be competent. So you could just have 1 year experience and be very competent. So we've got to break it up, and then we need to link it to the kind of competency, skill sets, and experience required in the sector. Then people can see it and say, hey, there's a match. I've got skill sets that that complement, that are in sync with what is required in that center. Of course, then there's one part which is difficult because it has to be personal. It has to come from within, and that's your inclination. What drives you as a person. But I would think that for most people who have served in the uniform services, making the transition to the social service sector, the community care sector, wouldn't be very difficult, because it's about serving people, it's about serving the country, it's about making sure no one gets left behind. All of this, if you explain it to a soldier, they would understand this. So it's about creating the awareness about the complementary, the skill sets you picked up as a soldier, how it can be used in the community care sector. And I think if we create the awareness, more people will consider a career in the social service sector.
Well,
after
fantastic.
transitioning out from the armed forces.
Yeah. Well, on that note, our last question to you is,
yes,
when a new candidate walks into the door for an interview with you, what are the few factors that makes you really want to hire that person?
Well, first of all, I tell them that if you're going to come into this sector, then please understand that me as the CEO here, if I'm setting the tempo, I explain to them, I believe that we are here to do God's work. If we do it right, when my residents in the wee hours of the morning, if they hear footsteps in the corridor, I want them to believe that God is walking the corridors. Now, in order to do that, we must be prepared not just to get our hands dirty, we must be prepared to get our fingernails dirty. It's hard work. okay? And you must be ready to give 100%. That's all I'm asking for, 100%. On occasion, when I have a pandemic, I may require 110% from you, but I won't have you at 110% forever because you will burn out. But on occasion, if I need it, I will ask for it, but otherwise just give me your 100%. And if you say that, you want to, help and serve people, then fine. I'm ready to give you a shot. Interview is all of 30 minutes, 1 hour. The resume, I've never seen a resume where people write negative things about themselves. It's always all very positive. If they could save the galaxy, they would. Beam me up, Scotty, and all that. So I say, look, okay, you come on board and give it a shot. And if you think it fits, and we will know, you will know, and I will know, then let's continue. But if it doesn't, then at least we are both aware of where our inclinations are and what we are capable of, and then we move on. But this is about serving, service before self, and that's what it's a big ask, okay? But I know, because I'm blessed with colleagues who manifest and display this on a daily basis. It's in every one of us, to help our fellow human being. And serving in the social service sector is an opportunity to embrace our common humanity. And if you are inclined in that way, then please come on board. We are always looking for good men and women.
Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks so much for the sharing from your care philosophies to the services that's being offered. And I think most importantly is the heart behind the organization. Yes. I think many of our audience out there will truly enjoy listening. And if they want to reach out to you, I'm sure they know where to connect with you.
Please connect with me. We are very big on partnerships and collaborations. We can't do everything ourselves. And we love to work with partners and collaborate, to achieve mutual outcomes. And as I said, make it happen and make 1 + 1 = 2.5. So please connect with me. Happy to explore, happy to discuss. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much. And together we'll make it happen. Cheers.
Thank you.
CarePage Business is the only feedback platform designed for the health and aging sectors. With CarePage Business, you can uncover powerful customer experience insights, monitor resident or client feedback and complaints in a single, easy-to-use platform, and get the insights you need to drive continuous improvement in services and facilities.